Hey everyone, so today we're going to be looking at growing some chilies. We've got our chili seeds here. The seeds I've selected are going to be cayenne chili peppers. So the seeds are looking, if you can see, just like that. That's a single seed there, flat chili seeds, and we're going to be growing them in a smart garden today using these plugs. So these plugs are made of coconut husk, or coco coir as it's called, and the smart garden itself is a deep water culture style system. So it's effectively going to be a tank full of water, and that these plugs will make contact with and become moist. And over time, the roots will grow down into the reservoir, which will be full of nutrients. The only thing that makes this smart garden different from a normal deep water culture system is that it's got an automatic watering and feeding function. So if you don't have a smart garden, this works with standard deep water culture. It also works with Kratky really well. But I want to talk primarily, or at first in the video, about how to sort of prep your seeds and prep your plugs. If you're using plugs, maybe you're using rock wool or a different medium. But I have used these plugs before and they have grown mold on them, which in and of itself is not the biggest problem in the world. But I do just want to experiment with this new method that was recommended to me by a fellow grower of soaking the plugs beforehand in a hydrogen peroxide dilute solution. So it kind of preps the plug in a way where the hydrogen peroxide and water mix, essentially sterilize the plug before it's put into the hydroponic system, and hopefully no mold or algae or other unwanted bacteria will grow as a result. So what we're going to do is, I've got some hydrogen peroxide here, and I'm going to fill this up with water momentarily. And the hydrogen peroxide I'm using is the liquid oxygen by Growth Technologies, and they recommend using a 1 milliliter for every 1 milliliter of hydrogen peroxide for every liter of water. So I'm going to mix my hydrogen peroxide with my water, and then I will soak these two plugs. I'm only going to grow 2 chili plants, and because I don't want any overcrowding, but I'm going to soak these plugs and get them prepped, and then I will talk about starting seeds as well. Thank you. So hydrogen peroxide can irritate your skin, therefore I recommend not touching it directly or wearing gloves. Got my water. I've also got my syringe here to measure out. So I've got 500 milliliters of water, which means we only need half a mil, basically, of our hydrogen peroxide. So it's going to be the smallest amount. Even that's too much. Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm going to add that in there. Make sure it all goes in. Great. I'm going to just add a tiny bit extra just to double check. Yep, that's plenty. Right. So now we've got our mixture. I'm going to take the cocoa plugs and soak them in the solution. Make sure that they're completely saturated. Push them under, make sure that they absorb the solution. So I'll leave those to sit. While I leave those to sit, I want to just talk about how we can start seeds. So we've got a single chili seed. Yeah, I'm going to get a few more just for this example. So a lot of people, when they grow, they germinate and develop the seedling before they put it in a system. So there's a few ways to do that. You can use what are called propagators, which are sort of like a dome, plastic dome. You leave the seeds in there with some water or create a moist environment with a little bit of heat, and they eventually germinate. But if you don't have this option, there's a really cheap alternative, which is called the paper towel or Ziploc bag method. So I'm just going to show you with some tissue, some tissue paper. Basically, you're trying to create the same environment that the seeds would have in the soil. So it's going to be dark, it's going to be wet, and not too cold. So for example, you start with a piece of tissue paper, and you can spray it with water initially or spray it afterwards. But I think spraying it beforehand just allows for the seeds to sort of stay in place. So let's say we spray this with water, get it slightly damp, and then we're going to add a layer of seeds like so, just putting them in a fairly uniform pattern so that they don't interfere with one another when they start to germinate. So we've got our seeds, spray on a little bit of water, fold over the tissue paper, give it another spray of water so it's damp. Then, and take a normal Ziploc bag, open it up, and we're going to put the seeds, which are inside the wet tissue paper, inside the Ziploc bag, and then seal the Ziploc bag. Now what this does is, being inside the bag, the moisture from the water that's been sprayed on the tissue paper stays inside the Ziploc bag. So there's an atmosphere of humidity in there. If it's kept in a dark place as well, it simulates being within soil. But as soon as you see the seeds start to germinate, then it's time to take them out and make sure that there's light present. You can keep them on the tissue paper, but they're going to start demanding nutrition and light when that happens. So that is one method for germinating. As an experiment for this grow cycle, I'm going to try germinating my seeds inside the cocoa plugs. So I'm just going to put the plugs straight into my water and nutrient solution, put the seeds in the plugs, and see how we get on, see how they germinate, if they germinate comfortably, or if it's an absolute failure, then we can retry using the paper towel method. I've used this method to germinate chilies before, and it worked out really well. I'll show you in a second another hydroponic setup that I have that's chilies inside that were grown or that were germinated using this method. So I think by now our plugs may be ready, and I will show you how they go inside our deep water culture system. So here we have my existing. So this is the existing hydroponic chili plant. So this is currently growing in, you can see down here, it's growing in cocoa coir in a pot. So it's supporting the plant like soil, and it's absorbing the water, which is in this reservoir down here. But there's no nutritional value in the soil, basically, for the plant. So all of the nutrition is coming from the water. It's getting sucked up through the bottom of the pot via the wicking nature of the cocoa coir. And then, as you can see, we have a couple of chilies and plenty of other flowers with some smaller chilies, you can see just about in the background on the way. And this plant was germinated using the paper towel method and then transplanted into the cocoa coir, as you can see. So this is the larger of the two plants. And then we've got the little brother down there, which is less healthy. As you can see, the leaves are curling. This was due to a previous issue with light intensity and also airflow. Hence, I've got the fan next to it, which you can see. And then this one's yet to bear fruit, but we'll see how it goes. And then I've got an LED light above. This is on a 1410 light cycle, so 14 hours of light and 10 hours of darkness attached to a timer, just a normal timer on the main socket on the wall. Yeah, I hope to see more chilies grow through. I'm going to let these ones ripen. So the green amount, these are also cayenne chili peppers. I'm going to let these ones ripen, and then we'll see where we go from there. So here we have the Smart Garden, which is basically this reservoir down here, the LED array up top. It has an LED display which sort of tells me the water level, the light intensity, how many growing days it's been on. And then from the back, if you can see back here, we have this pipe which feeds water into the system via a pump from this reservoir down here. So water gets pumped via this pipe into the reservoir, and then inside here, I'll show you, at the back, there is a compartment with a pipe on it that will deposit nutrition into the water when the water level is registered to be low. So upon the initial filling up of the system, it will deposit nutrition, and then every time the water level reaches low, it will refill automatically from the bottom, and then internally nutrients will be added. So if we remove, I'm going to do, like I said, 2, just because I don't want overcrowding, as you saw with the other chili plant. They do grow quite big. So we're going to put 1 net pot here, so we're going to space them like this. So we're going to have 1 net pot here, 1 net pot here. And then these are our pre-soaked cocoa plugs. So these are the plugs that have been soaking for around 10 to 30 minutes. It's fine in hydrogen peroxide diluted solution. Like I said, to avoid its potential risk of mold or any sort of algae or unwanted growth. And then I'm going to add my cayenne seeds. So we're going to have, I'm going to just do 1. I would usually do a few more, but again, I'm trying to not risk overcrowding. So I'll do 1, see how they go. And if not, I can always add another one, see what happens there. So I'm going to turn on the system, and we are going to put it in what's called automatic mode, which is basically where it will start filling up from the pump down below. So the water is now set to start filling. So let's have a look inside. You can see that the water started pumping in from the reservoir down here via the pipeline around the back of the shelving unit into the smart garden. So let's move those seeds, those lid covers. It'll take a few minutes to fill, and then once it's filled, it will deposit nutrition from that compartment at the back, which I've added some nutrients to. So that's more or less the initial setup, and we will check back on it once the seeds start germinating. So now the reservoir is full. I've also added these humidity domes to the top of the plugs just to keep any moisture and humidity in there. And I'll just show you, I've done it before. So this is now filled completely with water. That's the nutrient reservoir. This is what it looks like open, and inside there is my nutrition, and it comes through this hose at the front whenever the water level is full. So that's how the system is automated, but this is perfectly doable without an automated system. It would just be a case of manually putting the nutrients in. And as you can see, the bottom of the plugs are submerged in the water, so they draw up water, nutrition. So yeah, let's check back in a few weeks and see where we're at. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully I answered some of your questions, and I'd like to take some time to just say, if you're interested in learning about hydroponics, perhaps you want to start a business and make some money with hydroponics, join us over on School. There'll be a link on screen now. It's a great place to learn everything you ever wanted to about hydroponics with like-minded people, professionals, beginners, everything you ever need. So I'll see you there.